This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag. Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag is Baton Rouge's longest running and best television show. Who would have believed that?
With my best friend, Lee Feinswag, with the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Now, your host, Lee Feinswag.
It's yelling now, I guess. I don't know. Oh, my. It's Sports 225. Eddie Bonine is here. He's the executive director of the LHSAA. And I don't know whether to call him the embattled, the beleaguered, or, God, what a roller coaster ride you've been riding between the LHSAA and your building. But first, before we get to all that, let me ask you, have you ever had pneumonia?
I have had pneumonia. In fact, I had double pneumonia once, and I was out of the United States when I got it.
No, where were you?
I was in Dominican Republic.
Wow.
And it was an experience and all. But, you know, like anything else, they give you the medication, you know, you fight it with the antibiotics, whether you're there or here, but you always wonder. But it was,
Well,
but it was a horrible feeling. I mean, your lungs feel like there's Velcro in there, and every time you breathe, they're sticking together. It was a...
Well, yours was worse. So last year in November, and I'm bringing this all up because Hillary Clinton has pneumonia. And a lot of people, I think, don't know how hard that is. So last year in November, I went down to Puerto Rico to go play water polo for a long weekend with one of my teams. And the night before I was going to leave, I started running a terrible fever. No symptoms, okay? Get down there, because I was thinking like, whatever it is, it's no big deal, I'm just going to go. That's why I could relate so much to the events of the last week. So I get down there, and I feel like crap, the fever won't go away, and I play. And I would play with, the fever would break, like I'd pop a couple of Advil, whatever, you know, boom, they'd go away, play pretty well, and then I was just down for the count. And then I started coughing. No other symptoms, though, except for the fever, and I started coughing. And when they were talking about Hillary Clinton and the way she was coughing. So anyway, I got through the weekend somehow, came home, got diagnosed with pneumonia, and it felt like I had mono for the next 6 weeks. You know?
Well, and the not for your viewing audience, but in regards to whenever you finally get past that, the antibiotics are working, then you start the coughing stuff up out of your lungs. That is just a special event.
No,
in itself.
and that kept me from swimming for 6 more weeks, which is something I like to do almost every day. But it wasn't fair to go to a swimming pool because, you know.
Yeah,
so on that happy note, how about this Sports 225?
Right.
Yeah, you know, and you thought we were just going to talk about your flooded building and your crazy organization.
Well, that was a question we hadn't discussed, so that's a good one.
Yeah, right.
How'd I do?
Yeah, you did good. You know, the Dominican Republic thing was pretty good, so you got home okay.
And I didn't leave the country. I stayed there. I was down there playing winter baseball in St. Pedro de Macorís, no, I just went through the process and continued to train, and I think I missed the start. But
you played minor league baseball.
I did for more years than I want to mention.
How many?
More years than I want to mention. 79 to 80 to 87, 88.
Did you ever get close?
No.
No.
Well, AAA for 4.5 years, but I guess that's close. But
well, it is close.
I pitched a lot of innings in spring training and A and B games, but no, sir.
You were, I want to say Braves. Am I right?
No, sir. Houston Astros.
Oh, Astros?
My last 3 years, I was a pitching coach for the San Francisco Giants, the year of the earthquake in 1989.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That won National League Championship, and we have a colleague on our staff, Jacob Doyle, who's a big Cubs fan, and we beat the Cubs that year in the National League Championship.
And then played the A's in the World
Series.
Series.
Played the Battle of the Bay. That was the year of the earthquake. Yes, sir.
Because of the earthquake. Yeah, wow. Forgot all about that.
Yes, sir.
I got to do more homework. Oh, wait, if you've ever watched the show before, never mind. So I wanted Eddie to come on because I wanted to catch up on all the things that were LHSAA. The last time that you personally were here, which was before all the meetings and stuff, you know, you threw at me the term rural and non-rural and that seems like a millennium ago. But first, let's talk about the building.
Sure.
You got flooded, and you're out on Old Hammond Highway near Sherwood Forest, give or take, near Flannery, out that way. So
we're situated between Sherwood Forest and Millerville Road. Out there,
and so
next to the library out on Old Hammond Highway.
Yeah. So how are things?
Well, we took in water, as many people did in that neighborhood, not near as severe as some of the people in the residency did in that area, but we had 18 to 23 inches in there, depending upon the portion of the building that you were in. But the water was contaminated, the building got contaminated, so we have had to obviously roll out of there, and everything we had in there we lost. You know, so we are. In fact, I have a meeting coming up shortly with the construction crew that's been in, and it has already torn out. They call it demolition, but it's kind of misleading. We just basically tore out all the wet board, flooring, all that stuff, stripped it back down to the concrete, into the metal studs throughout the entire building now. And I'm supposed to meet with them soon and discuss the next phase when we start the trying to renovate, and we're looking at 19 to 22 weeks. So we're probably somewhere in May, late April, May, before we get back in the building.
Basically an entire school year, and you guys have all been working separately out of your own homes, occasionally getting together at coffee shops.
We have. Exactly. Yeah. Actually, we've been meeting regularly 2 to 3 times a week at the Crown Plaza, which is one of our partners, and we've been going there and meeting. And now we have located an alternate site. GMFS Mortgage and the Brown family have been very, very gracious to us, and are also partners with the high school athletics. They've opened up their doors to us, so we're in a facility in the business center here, located here in this mall area, and we're close. We're in there. In fact, we're in there now. We're just waiting for all the furniture to be delivered. We're buying forward. Anything we purchase now, we're going to take back to the old facility, newly remodeled, if you will, whenever that time comes. So it's been a transition, but I have a very professional staff, and we've met the decentralization of what we were doing, and I banked on the professionalism of all of our staff. And some membership know we were down, some hadn't read the paper, or followed anything going on in Baton Rouge. So, but we still, on occasion, get, we know you flooded, but can you take care of this or take care of that? And we work diligently to try to be as seamless as possible during this transition, which we haven't been completely successful with that, but we've tried, and I think for the most part, the majority of the membership has been very patient, understand, and have gone through some of this before.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe.
It is.
All right,
different.
so we got to take a break, but
Okay.
I do have one very important question about the building and the flooding when we get back, and then we'll talk about the LHSAA and some of the things that you've been dealing with.
Perfect. I'll stick around.
That aren't wet. He's Eddie Bonine. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College, and I really encourage you to come out to our 12-acre campus here on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge.
Contact ITI to enroll in our Construction Management Associate and Occupational Studies degree program. Learn to plan, coordinate, budget, and supervise construction projects, and collaborate with engineers and architects in the residential, commercial, industrial, and heavy civil construction industry sectors. Call now about this new, exciting career degree. ITI Technical College. Begin your journey to a better life.
Back on Sports 225, I'm hanging out with Eddie Bonine, the executive director of the LHSAA, which is an organization you could say in transition, but it's also the home of your offices and the LHSAA Hall of Fame, which now you said everything that got destroyed. Now last April my wife Brenda LeBlanc went into the Hall of Fame, and all the stuff was supposed to be there and to put up the plaques. Are you saying her plaque is gone and all that?
No. That the water didn't get that deep, and where if you've been in our hall, those plaques start about 3.5 to 4 feet off the floor, and then we'll start putting easels in as the classes continue. But no, sir. But we took all of those out of there. They've all been wrapped and bubble wrapped and have been transported and put in storage. Actually, where we are located right now, we have all those. We saved all the plaques and everything in there.
If I didn't ask that question, I'd be in trouble, right?
Yeah, no. There was no damage to any of the plaques, any of that kind of stuff. So we're able to save all that. If the water went deep enough, we'd have had some difficulty and would have had to reorder. But right now, we saved everything that was in there.
Let me tell you, she went in April, and she was in a class that included Todd Walker, the two coaches from Parkview Baptist, Kenny Guillat and ML, help me here, ML Woodruff, the baseball coach, and then a couple of the basketball coach from North Louisiana who won so many championships in a row. The event was fantastic. But it reminds you, I always joke with people, I say, we may be last in roads and schools, but we are big time in sports. And this state just churns out some unbelievable athletes and coaches.
And when you see the induction ceremony, not only in Louisiana, but then again at the national level, which I've had the privilege to attend many of those most recently.
Pete Boudreaux from Catholic High went this year.
When you look at those individuals, of what they've done in the amount of time, 40, 50 years in case like Mr. Boudreaux, you're thinking, wow, I mean, that is what the true spirit of high school sport is, and has still maintained by many across the United States, regardless of the sport in which they're coaching,
Yeah.
and or administrators or officials who've been officiating football for 53 years. And some think, well, it's about time you get in the hall now. Will you quit calling games? No. But it's an incredible event, and we're very proud of our Hall of Fame, and the inductees are very well deserving.
So about that select, non-select. I say it flippantly because I don't know any other way to approach it because of everything that you went through in the spring and through the summer. How are things these days? Give me some kind of synopsis, something I can hit back to you.
Well, yeah, I think at this particular point, the select, non-select is what it is, and I hate that saying. It is what it is. It's a dead issue with me in my office. I've been given specific direction. I brought forward some information that I thought I needed to once it was passed, and we not only didn't change, but we also added additional sports at our this past January annual convention. And staff, for the most part, worked diligently in producing what that would look like in regards to playoff structure and time out of class and travel and all of that, win-loss records. We presented that information. I felt the need that we needed to make sure that we could present that information. And when we came to the January meeting, I could have had that information then, but I really thought my charge at that particular juncture was to try to find a way to get everybody back together for unified championships. And it didn't happen. So,
and does it matter what you think personally?
No, sir.
But
I don't have a vote.
And do you want to share your opinion? Like, would you rather see all for one and one for all, or do you care? Or
it depends on the state that you're in, and it depends on what the membership wants to do. And I inherited what the membership wants to do for whatever reasons was to have those split championships. My charge, as many know now, through my interview process, my interpretation was to attempt to bring everybody back together. And when I had the task force meeting, that first 90 days I was on the job, within 45 days I had that task force identified, volunteered, was enforce the rules. If we would have just enforced the rules consistently across the state, and our membership would have done the same on their responsibility, we wouldn't be in this particular position.
Now,
So
when you say that, but do you mean recruiting?
Recruiting is one of those, yes, sir, on how the public schools feel as though that those select schools, whether it be a private parochial, a magnet, or other form of school, are able to get students into the school, where in some communities they have to take the kids that doesn't sound nice, have to take the kids or play the hand that's dealt them, meaning
the ones that live there.
The ones that live there, that is correct. And not only in this state, but states across the United States, it seems as though most students don't want to play where they live for whatever reasons. And now and I'm a proponent of educational options as a past principal and an educator. And if schools want to make those choices, so be it. But we also have to make sure that our rules will also work in compliance with the system in the process. So back to your original question. It doesn't matter one way or another to me, but my initial charge was attempt to try to pull it back together. Very soon thereafter, I realized that this wasn't going to happen, especially when individuals across the state go on other TV stations and or radio stations say, hey, we know what we're going to do now. I don't know why Mr. Bonine is wasting his time doing what he's doing, because this is what we're going to do come January. And it happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have known that, and I wouldn't not waste my time. But what it did do, on a personal note, was I was able to meet some really, really good people that have sincere concerns about the association in regards to what they think it should be and what it should look like. That's behind us now. That's rearview mirror stuff for me. So now, as I move forward, it's all front windshield. And some days I'm the windshield, some days I'm the bug. It just depends on the issue.
Stop on that joke, because you can't top that for the rest of the segment. All right, we'll pick this up right where we left off when we get back with Eddie Bonine. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225. Oh, hi. I was checking out Yelphi. I do it all the time, all day, because it brings me all the news I need to know in sports. I mean, I've got a customized news feed, real-time scores. It's integrated with Facebook and Twitter. You download it on iTunes, Yelphi, Y-E-L-L-F-Y. It's a great app and a fantastic Twitter feed. Must have somewhere to go, too. We're back on Sports 225 when he said on the windshield or the bug. Yep, you can be one or the other almost every day, especially if you're Eddie Bonine, Executive Director of the LHSAA. All right, so basically, regardless of all that happened and what you thought, you have the situation now where the split is there and it's going to stay and it's expanded. And I got to ask you about the great line, because it was a great line, the dumpster fire line. Mm-hmm. And whether you regret saying that or you wish maybe it hadn't gone as public, I'm glad you did. But is it in fact a dumpster fire right now?
By definition, that's circumstances in which individuals don't want to deal with, and I think there's pieces of that.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, I believe it opened a line of communication.
And I think that's a good point, and I'm glad. And
as I stated before,
right.
At the meeting in which there was an attempt to remove me from my position, that I regret like you just said, I regret the way in which that transpired, and we now know how that happened. But the content was from my heart, and what I felt, and the frustrations that I was feeling through this process at every turn. It seemed as though there was something behind me now. We've cleared the air. We're good. We're moving forward. But now we're in a situation where now we have new obstacles, and those obstacles may be when we come to January, we may end up splitting all of our sports, if that be the case. And if that happens, it will then probably cause some form of dissolvement of some activities or athletic events, because there won't be enough schools to participate for specific sport specifics, whether it be golf or tennis or wrestling. I mean, it just depends on the dynamics and the demographics of where those sports lie and who they play. So there's going to be more stuff coming at that port. You and I probably have heard, and I've heard it, it depends on where it comes from, that there's going to be a group of schools that are planning on moving out of the association and starting another association. And if that be the case, then we make adjustments to that as well. But in the grand scheme of things, I pride ourselves in trying to be proactive with our athletic association. And I'm able to, as in the communication you mentioned earlier, we're able to communicate with my colleagues across the United States. Our majority of those have either retired or our families have grown it together in the NFHS. So we do consider ourselves at the National Federation of State High Schools a family. And we see each other 3 times a year, and our families, colleagues across the United States have seen my sons and my family grow since they were 2 and 4 years old. They're now 16 and 14 respectively. So it's just a matter of how we're going to move forward now. Mm-hmm. And I've stated before that I'm not the individual that's going to band-aid something and do something just to push it through. That if I'm going to do something, we're going to do it by moving forward. Unfortunately, now it seems as though we're more reactionary than we are being proactive. And that's a different management style for me. But I'm also a school administrator, and I understand when you're a principal, every day you go to work thinking, okay, something may happen today, and here's what I have to do, and you have to be able to think on your feet. But I also know that an old superintendent mentor of mine says, Eddie, there's no one decision you need to make at any given time within a 24-hour period unless somebody's walking up on your campus and it's going to threaten your staff or your students, and then you're going to have to make a decision, snap decision.
Take a deep breath.
I have, and I haven't made, I don't feel I've made any snap decisions to this particular juncture.
Yeah.
I've used information, but in the grand scheme of things, no matter what happens from this point further, the collegial partnerships that I have been able to attain by not only a majority of membership across the state, the principals, the superintendents, the State School Boards Association, our legislature, other groups in which I was charged to open a positive line of communication and let them know that we're going to cooperate, and we're going to do what we need to as an organization. I've done that. Yeah. And at this particular point, I think we're going in the right direction. But it seems like there's always something that just happens to come up for whatever reason somehow.
Well, it's never ending in your job.
It is not.
But I do want to ask you about from a personal end, and I perceive this because we've had conversations, but when the whole thing was unfolding, there was a part of me that's saying, well, why doesn't Eddie just tell them all to go to hell and pack up and say, I can get a job anywhere, because you could, but you want to see this through and you fought for your job. And I was curious about what your mindset was and is on all that.
I signed a contract and dedicated myself. My family and I moved here. We sold what we had in out of state. We're all in. We jumped all in. And we made a commitment to do that. I made a 4-year commitment. I'm in the business for students and student athletes. That's why I took this job. And it was a career move for me, not just a job opportunity, but a career move. My wife's family's from here, and we wanted to make a family move as well.
And the boys are both in high school.
And the boys are both in high school here. So I have 2.5 years remaining on my contract. I I think it was a philosophical difference in regards to what transpired, not only with that communication, but I didn't violate my contract in doing so, which individuals may have thought I had done. It wasn't a deliberate or malice on my behalf. It was me basically saying what I felt, the frustration at that point. And I know at this point that my commitments to kids, the students in this state, it'll continue to be my plight. And it's the same with our corporate partners, the All-State Sugar Bowl. They've had every opportunity to say, you know what?
Well, it's funny you say that, because
maybe we should just go a different direction. They haven't. They've stood behind the association.
We got to go to break, but I want to ask you
Okay.
exactly that. I'm glad you said
Okay.
sponsors. It's a perfect segue for me, and I appreciate it. He's Eddie Bonine.
Yes, sir.
I'm Lee Feinswag. We're quickly coming down the home stretch of the Sports 225, and we'll be right back.
It was nearly a decade ago that Brett teamed up to Imagine Your Parks, and you imagine big. 12 beautiful community parks from one end of the parish to the other, one family-sized water park, and 5 other parks just for your dogs. You have places to splash and places to explore. You have games to play and camps galore. No matter what you like to do or see, visit Breck.org and see how together we have made Breck better than imagined.
Back on Sports 225, visiting with Eddie Bonine, the Executive Director of the LHSAA, which you can follow at lhsaa.org for information on every sport, which I actually go there fairly often to keep up with what's happening.
Good.
And follow them on Twitter. They put up scores and all that kind of stuff. It's all good. Thanks to John Williams from JCW Productions for directing. Go to sports225.com to watch past shows, which we put up on our Sports 225 YouTube channel, and a listing of all the airings for Cox 4 and CST. So when we went to break, we were talking about sponsors and money.
Mm-hmm.
I know the money is a big issue because of sponsors and because of the split has brought on additional expenses. I mean, just the expansion of the football and, and having to play 2 times
Correct.
in the Superdome and just on and on and on. How are you dealing with, and then of course, insurance doesn't cover everything. There's no way in the world that the flooding in your building isn't going to cost the LHSAA money as well. I'm sure that keeps you up at night.
And as we were discussing before the break, the All-State Sugar Bowl has stood by us through all of this, through all of the splits, so everything that we've done at this particular point. And I think that there will be a point that there may be some decisions they may have to be if we continue to split further, and/or if another organization opens up outside of organization, and that would be costly to many. But we're going to get it done, Lee. We've worked diligently to try to make sure that we have transparency in our organization, where our financials are, and what we're doing, and how we're trying to be accountable for those dollars, and we've done that. But there is added costs, and most recently at our most recent meeting that we had, we rolled out what those costs would be, and we could be anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 additional costs over the course of this year for the playoffs if we maintain the same venues that we have, which we pride ourselves in the venues that we have for all of our sports and everything that we do. But the All-State Sugar Bowl has stood behind the LHSAA and stood behind Eddie Bonine.
Good.
That said, Eddie Bonine will continue to do what I can for the LHSAA as the executive director, to the chagrin of some, but I want to do what I need to do until they tell me you're no longer going to do it. And at that point, then okay, but I'm going to do what I need to do.
I applaud you for being a stand-up guy, not only in your job, but I especially appreciate you coming on here and never ducking any questions and talking about all the things that you do. So thank you.
I appreciate coming on. I appreciate what you've done historically for the association.
And thanks to Jacob Doyle, his right-hand man, for getting him on here. And thanks to all of you for watching. This has been Sports 225.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky. This Spanish Town Mardi Gras, may it never die. Poetry was everywhere, sweet music filled the air, and just then she glanced my way.